Hey Robert, Nate here from Zund. I got your email. I just wanted to give you a quick video tutorial on how to do exactly what you want to do. Um, I'm not really the HPGL guy. All right, that's a super old way of doing things with this software. And I had to ask my boss about it, if it was even possible, which it's not. Okay, when we hit start production, we're not able to send commands to the machine in the middle of a job. Uh, Basically, how do you plan on send the HPGL commanding to the machine? I'm just reading off an email. I was talking to my boss about this on lunch. The problem is you can't send HPGL in the middle of a job. That's what he came back with. I mean, Keith's been here 15 years. He knows it all. He's a genius. So what I was thinking was maybe I could send an HPGL command at a certain time when we used a tool, uh, but still it's not going to work like that. So unfortunately, we do have to do it manually. All right, but there is a way to make it easier for you so you don't have to sit there and stop the machine at certain times and like babysit this thing while it's cutting. Because yeah, I get it. When you use a POT tool, it creates a lot of friction, a lot of heat. You know, it's probably just it makes a bad cut eventually. So you want to kind of reinitialize it. Maybe the tip's getting worn in the middle of a long job, possibly something like that. So I get it for sure. But there is a way that we can have this stop working at a certain time in a job. Design aspect wise, you can't just put every shape that you want to cut on a single through cut layer. You got to separate them from through cut 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, you got a full job, and then you want to separate it into, let's say, 4 quadrants. You know, quadrant A, B, C, D, all those different shapes. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how to do it automatically when you bring in files through a hot folder. Okay, so let me switch over to this guy. Okay, so I got my job here. It's already open, but I'm going to show you how to set all this stuff up. Let's say you got a job here. I'm going to be POT cutting it. I know I got a UCT, but does it really matter? No. Um, what we can do is take some of these shapes and put them on separate layers. Now, I would do this inside of Illustrator beforehand. All right, I wouldn't do this after it comes over to Cut Center here, but let's just pretend I create this inside of Illustrator right now. Start the Cut Center, start the editor here, and I just want to take some of these guys. Let's take, I don't know, these shapes. Let's do that. Right click, and then let's do through cut. Let's do a different color. You know, quad 1, and let's make that 4 since that's in the back. All right, let's do that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that little guy down there. Change that to a new through cut. Let's do green. Quad, yeah, let's do 3. There it is. Forgot this little guy here. Let's throw that on 4. Let's do all the stars. Maybe that guy there. Change that to a separate through cut. Let's make that a little lower. Let's let's change that green to a little lower. That's pretty crazy on the eyes. All right, so I got 4 separate through cut layers, okay? And this is how I should build my file inside of Illustrator or AutoCAD. You got to separate those shapes into different layers, okay? And we got to do this inside of that pre-press software that you're going to be using, okay? But if I just name all of these 4 through cut layers the same name, through cut, through cut, through cut, through cut, without having an extra name associated with it, when I drop that file into a hot folder, it's going to take them all and smush them onto the same through cut layer, and then you're just going to have to do it again when it gets over to the software. Okay, so we have to set up the hot folder a certain way, so it knows that you have 4 different through cuts, or however many it might be. Okay, I'm going to go into my cut manager, the M, otherwise right click on the bottom right corner, Z, hit up that cut manager there. We're going to go to settings, hot folders. We're going to make a new one. I'll hit this little plus sign up in the top. Put it anywhere you want, desktop, network, location, doesn't matter. It's just a regular old folder. Testing hot folder. What should I do? What should I call it? Templates, because I'm going to call it templates because eventually we have to make a template. All right. Select that. So I have my through cut layer there, and it looks for all those naming conventions to apply a through cut onto a standard mode. All right. But if I want to separate them all, as you can see just underneath this, we have through cut dashed and dotted. Okay. Now, I just want regular old through cuts, so I have to make new through cut layers inside of here. So inside my hot folder, I can hit this plus sign, name it what I want. Let's do through cut, I don't know, quad 1. Actually, I'll just do 2 since we already have just the basically quad 1 through cut there. Through cut, I have to give it a different name because that one through cut method already has like no name on it, otherwise it wouldn't work. Quad, where did I name that? 2? Yeah, let's do that different color. Quad 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, through cut quad 3. All right, I can get all the different synonyms in there. You know, maybe it's just TCQ1, TCQ2, TCQ3. You can throw that stuff in there. Quad 3. Let's make that one purple. Quad 3, quad 4. All right, TCQ4. Maybe that's all you need. Make it easier for your designers, and then name that quad 4 and give it a different color. Some orange there. There it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, when I drop that file in, it's going to separate those 4 different quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And it will come up when an operator opens up a job after it's dropped through this hot folder. It'll show up like this. It has your registration, if you have reg marks on there, but then through cut, and then 2, 3, 4. You know, maybe we'll name this one quad 2. There we go. All right, how you set up the layering of these, I have 2, 3, 4 in that order, 2, 3, 4, and then my through cut normal is just 1 basically. How I layer those out determines how it comes through inside of the cut center as through cut 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you wanted to do 4 first, like I have here inside my hot folder, I'd have to take this quad 4 and move it up above those other 2. Okay, so how you layer these out, you got to, what you want to do first, second, third, and fourth, you got to do that. I'll leave that back down. But now what we have to do to pause the job in between those layers, so we can go and do an initialization and I don't have to sit there and wait and watch this thing cut up to a certain point and then stop it hopefully at a certain time. I got to put some pauses in between these layers. And I have action steps inside my machining steps. Let's just do it from the cut center right here. Cut center right here. It's all the same stuff. So I'm eventually going to have to go over to the editor anyways. Add a new action step next to that little knife. That's a new machining step, adding your through cuts and new reg marks and or registrations and all that. Once I open up this action step, there's a pause right here. And then init tools. There it is. So when it's done cutting this first through cut layer, it's going to pause the job. You'll get a pop-up on the screen saying to init your tools, and the machine won't do anything until you hit enter on your keyboard or hit OK on that pop-up. Okay, so what I'd want to do then is take this pause, clone it, this rightmost icon. Let's do it a couple times and drag it in between those through cuts. There it is. So that's basically what we want to see. I suppose I could move that up 4 in the bottom. There we go. So this is how we want to see it set up when an operator opens it up for the first time after you've dropped it through the hot folder. Okay, now to do this, instead of just remembering to put in pause every single time and naming it and doing that yourself between all these through cuts, we can set up what's called a template. This guy right next to those action steps, there's templates in here which add certain action steps automatically. And I can build my own. There's already a few in here already, but it'd be better, oops, no, well, as you see, once I hit OK, it added that stuff in. Okay, I'm going to undo that because I want to make a pause template like this. So I'm going to bring this back over to the editor. Still have my pauses in here, put them in there if they're not there, and then go to File and Templates, save as a template, and be like init tools between layers. Right, throw a description in there if you really want to. Here we go. So then pause, pause, pause. Send it back. Looks like I got an error. Creating the test. Okay, we'll see if that really actually happened. Nope, it's in there. Okay. When I throw this in, it's going to put those pauses in. Let me see. Let me delete these pauses and just add them in with that template instead. There it is. Okay. So I feel like you have to standardize it a little bit, break up all your jobs in between, 4 quadrants if that's what you need to do, or 6 or 8 or whatever it might be, and then build that template with that amount of layers that you're going to have originally. Okay. Now what we can do then, now that I have that template, I'm going to go back to my hot folder and material job processing. So manager, settings, hot folders. Double click on that hot folder. And as you can see, we can add in a job template to the files coming through as well. So they'll automatically get that pause feature in between each of the layers. Okay. So yeah, unfortunately, man, it would be nice to be able to just say, hey, after this amount of feet cut, go and initialize. I would love that too. That'd be amazing to be able to have a job process like that. We just don't have that on our software. So we are going to have to kind of do it manually ourselves. So drop the file in, make sure you separate the different quadrants and name them differently. Create that inside the hot folder through cut 1, 2, 3, 4, quad 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you name them correctly, and then you layered them out correctly, and you make a template inside of editor, save that template, and then have it automatically apply that when files come through the hot folder. So then when an operator opens this job up for the first time, they'll run and cut this through cut quadrant out 1. That'll get done, and then a pop-up will come up on the screen, and then you can go through your control panel, hit the D-pad, select F1, 2, or 3, F1, F2, F3 for the module that the tool's in, and then initialize it. You're just going to have to do it through the control panel. Okay, 2 start. That's all you're going to have to hit. F1, 2 start if it's in the first module slot. Okay, and then after it's done initializing, put the machine back online from the control panel, and then hit OK on that on the screen that where it's going to pop up. Let's check out that screen simulation once. Does the registration? There's that pop-up. So that pop-up is going to stay up on the screen until you. Here, we'll pause it real quick. Okay, it looks like I can't pause it. Maybe this. There we go. This will stay up. Oh, come on, guy. this is going to stay up until I hit that OK, and the machine won't do anything. So it's not ideal. I get it, but it is what it is. Okay. It's the best way that I can think of to be able to get this to initialize in the middle of a job, so you don't really have to babysit it yourself, and you're setting up the hot folder so you don't need to uh, uh, you don't have to separate all this stuff or have an operator separate all this stuff up and put those pauses in themselves. You can just have the designers create the file, quadrant it out. Maybe you'll get to a point where you know about the size of the cut path that you'll need per quadrant. Maybe it's like 200 feet worth or something. If there's some way that you can figure it out from your software, exactly the shapes that you're going to be cutting, then by all means you can set all that stuff up. I mean, when it all comes down to it, if you hit this I up at the top, that brings up your job info, and then that'll tell you the down distance, the actual lines, how many inches it's going to cut per quadrant. All right, so if there's a little bit more on quad 4 compared to quad 2, maybe you can set up quad 4 and send that over to quad 2. And you can kind of even those out a little bit better. Okay, so yeah, I get it. It's not ideal for sure, but it is a little bit better. You don't have to sit there and babysit this thing and stop it yourself and get those things initialized. This would be something nice to have, to be able to have it initialized in between a certain amount of shapes you cut or different layers automatically. That would be awesome. But unfortunately, we don't have that right now. So I'm going to write it down. I'm going to send it over to Switzerland, and maybe we can implement that in the future. Okay. So yeah, holler at me if you have any other questions. Again, I might be in training. Uh, so if you don't hear anything from me, then by all means, just call us up, call service, and ask away. And if they don't know, then they'll holler at applications, and we'll get it worked out for you. Okay. So good luck with that, and hope you have a happy new year.